Probably in the category of most requested recipes I get, it is new ideas for pasta. And I probably get asked to teach how to make fresh pasta the most. But as far as comments, emails, messages, people I bump into on the street, they're typically looking for recipes to use just everyday dry pasta, but what is something new that you can do with it? And honestly, with pasta, I probably have it once a week, and I tend to just go with what is in season. Obviously, a simple pomodoro sauce is always great. An aglio olio. There are some classics that you can have all year round. But seeing as how I live in a seasonal area, when fresh things come to the farm stand, I tend to focus on those and just have the pasta be a party to these other ingredients. So when I was at the farm stand yesterday, picking up blueberries and peaches, super excited those are finally available, I picked up a few other items that I thought would make a really simple, fresh, very summery pasta. So it is out. The sweet corn is available, and this is some peaches and cream. So we're going to do some sweet corn. And then I also picked up some green beans. I have my own growing, but I had a couple dinners this week where I used the majority of my green beans. So I picked up some of these from the farm stand. And then I've got some courgette, zucchini, as well as some yellow summer squash. So we're going to use these as well. I have a little bit of scallion. And then for some brightness, we're going to go lemon. And outside of that, we got olive oil and then some fresh basil here in my tomato can. So this is vegetarian, and as it happens, it's also a vegan pasta dish, and the whole thing comes together in like 20 minutes. Super easy preparation. The pasta I'm using is probably my all-time favorite. Oops, runaway courgette. And this is Mancini. This is one of my favorite smaller Italian brands. Buying really good quality dry pasta, I can't stress it enough. It's not just, because it's more expensive, it tastes better. There actually is a big difference between high quality dry pasta and lesser quality. And as it happens, as with most things in life, you do have to pay more for the good stuff. So this is a 100% Duro or Durum flour pasta. This company is in Le Marche, that particular region of Italy. I'm using a spaghettini today, but honestly, you could make this entire recipe with any dry pasta you happen to have in the pantry. But this just happens to be my favorite, and I have one in the pantry today. So before we get started on the rest of our prep, I do have a large pot of water coming to the boil, and I'm going to salt that. The pasta itself is going to take about 10 to 12 minutes to cook, probably veering more on the 10-minute side, as I like my pasta quite al dente. So that is prepping off to the side. And then for our vegetables, we do have to do a little bit of prep so that they're not completely raw. So I have a nice big skillet here. And to prep our vegetables, really actually couldn't be simpler. We're going to gather up our green beans here. And I used to love sitting in my backyard and just snapping the peas. Such a relaxing thing to do as a kid, and I still love to do it to this day. Obviously, you could bundle these all up with the stem ends and just cut them off all in one foul swoop if you're in a rush. But otherwise, you can just take the time to just nick the stem ends off. And stem ends, by that, I mean, this is the tail end, and this is the stem end. It often has that little tiny bit still attached to it. So just nick that off. And just consider this a moment of Zen, a moment of meditation, if you will. I am an absolutely horrible meditator. I cannot sit still. I cannot shut down my brain. The only time I can really zone out is if I'm doing some sort of culinary task or if I'm reading a book. And even then, sometimes, particularly if I'm reading a magazine or a cookbook, even then, as I've mentioned, I think before, a recipe can catch my eye and I won't even finish going through the rest of the cookbook. I am just right in the kitchen giving it a go. So I'm going to carry on with this. Okay, green beans are finished. This is about a quart. Yes, it was about a quart of green beans from the farm stand. Now, to break these down to make them a little bit smaller, you can just go ahead and snap them into 3 pieces if you want. Otherwise, if you want to speed up this process, you can just do about half of them at the time and line them all up, and then just take your knife and cut them into smaller pieces, maybe like 1 inch or 1.5 inch pieces. And we'll do the same with this second bundle. And 3 or 4 cuts, and then into our skillet. And I am starting the skillet with the olive oil and our vegetables off the heat. We're going to bring the olive oil up to temperature along with the vegetables. A little trick I learned from many women in Italy. And then for our corn, we're just going to shuck this. Get all of these silks off. Make a big old mess. Shucking corn is a better job done outside. All right, so get the majority of the silks off. Now, if you wanted to, you could parboil this and then take the kernels off. I'm going to just take the kernels right off the cob now and cook them with the other vegetables. So to do so, it's really simple. Just give yourself a flat end on the fatter part of the cob, and then with a sharp knife, just run your knife down. You'll have a couple errant kernels go off on you. I've seen some people put this in a bowl and do it so that it catches. And also I've seen tools in kitchen shops where they kind of scrape it off the cob, but whatever's easiest for you. Again, just create a little flat surface so it doesn't skid out on you. And a sharp knife is obviously ideal for this. And get as close to the cob as you can. Oops, some corn confetti there. And just work your way down. All right, and then I'm just going to bundle all of this beautiful fresh corn into the pan. I have a few errant corn kernels that ran amok here. Just scoop those up. And then I've already pre-cut our scallions, so I'm gonna toss this in as well. Literally everything is going into the pan at the same time, which makes this so easy. And then for our courgette, zucchini, summer squash, I'm just gonna nick the tops off and then just do these into not really small pieces, although it's completely up to you, whatever type of texture you happen to prefer, but I don't want them minuscule. I do want some of their bright color to be easily noticeable amongst this pasta. So just into a small dice. And if you just wanted to use all one color of zucchini or just summer squash, or you can get the tiny little sort of baby courgettes or the little patty pans, you can use those as well. So just cut these into strips, then line them up and just run your knife through. So you can see this is a very bright, beautiful combo of essentially citrus colors, green and yellow. And then finally, we've got our zucchini. When you're picking out zucchini, this one I would actually consider somewhat large. I particularly like the smaller baby ones. I tend to harvest my zucchini when they're quite tiny. I find that they have the best texture and ultimately the best flavor. And if I happen to have some zucchini that just get out of control, or I happen to miss them and they get particularly large, I might use those perhaps more in like a vegetarian lasagna. Or when I lived in Italy, we often gave any zucchini that was, sort of bigger than that, we gave them to the chickens and the pigs, and they enjoyed them. And happily, both of my labs, Joey and Tommy, like zucchini. All right, so that is all of our veg in the pan, as you can see there. I'm gonna do a little bit of seasoning now, and then we'll adjust for seasoning later. So I've got salt, and I've got some fresh ground black pepper. I do want a little bit of heat off this pepper, so I'm gonna be generous. And I put about 3 tablespoons of olive oil in here. So I'm going to run over to the range. I'm gonna get this sauteing. It's only gonna take about 8 to 10 minutes. So I'm gonna drop the pasta at the exact same time, and then we'll come back and we'll put this all together. All right, the pasta is perfectly al dente, and we've got our beautiful summer vegetable medley here. So straight from the pot, I'm going to take a little bit of the pasta water with me, but not too much. I don't want this to be overly wet. Look at that. Pasta steam facial here. All right, I'm just going to move this to the side and let's give this a little toss. And before we toss it all, we're going to add in some of this beautiful basil. I'm just going to pull the leaves right off, and I'm not even going to chop it. I'm just going to fleck the leaves right in here. This is beautiful, sweet Ligurian basil. And again, no need to cut, just gorgeous verdant leaves in. And then for a little brightness, some lemon zest. You can use as much or as little zest as you like, but I like a lot of bright citrusy flavor, particularly when we have relatively subtle flavors for the most part with our vegetables. This will just brighten everything up and make it taste its absolute best. And then while we're at it, let's go in with some juice as well. Both halves. Just using my other hand to catch the pips. All right, and now we can just finish tossing this all together. Oh, it smells so beautiful. As soon as that heat touches the basil and you smell that lemon, and I actually smell the sweet corn and the smell of the beans. It's so beautiful. All right, so just a nice toss, and then I'm gonna plate this up. All right, let's dish this up. Some beautiful pasta. A little bit more. This is going to be my dinner tonight, so I want a lot. And then I'm gonna go in and make sure I get ample amounts of this beautiful farm stand vegetable. That looks amazing. And actually we're gonna do a little drizzle of some best quality olive oil, like so. And a nice couple extra pieces of basil on top. And then if you're so inclined, I have a little bit of freshly grated Parmigiano, if you would like to put that on top. And look at that. I don't think there is a bowl of pasta that isn't a thing of beauty. I'm going to dive in, try and get a little bit of each vegetable. Nobody likes to see another person eat, I don't think, but I don't care. Oops, make sure I get my bean. It's so simple, but the flavor is amazing. You get the lemon, the basil, the pepper, because I added quite a decent amount of pepper. I get that little bit of heat. It tastes creamy and lush. And as you saw, all that's really in there is the olive oil. That's the only fat in there, and that good quality starchy pasta water that comes from good quality dry pasta is the absolute best. Yes, I put a little bit of Parmesan on top, but honestly, that's just acting like seasoning. It's a very loud tractor going by the barn right now. I apologize for the noise, but that is country living. I am very excited about this pasta. I will, of course, post the full recipe for this on the website at inagrace.com. But it's so simple. I think that took all of 20 minutes, and you will not be disappointed. Hit up your farm stands, hit up your local farmers markets, take a peek at what they have, and make any kind of pasta creation you want. It's totally worth your time.